This here is Boom Studios Go-Go Power Rangers comic, issue number 2.
This issue begins 97 days before Arrival Day. So once again we're going backwards in time to learn more about the characters. Kimberly and Matthew are on their first date. Both of them are feeling quite nervous. They go to a carnival in the evening and we learn that Kimberly had only just moved to Angel Grove and seemingly hates it because her friends are 1,000 miles away. She doesn't know where her classes are, and her parents have stopped talking to each other. Her parents splitting up is lifted directly from the TV series, and of course also ties in with the main comic book series and the Pink miniseries by Boom Studios. Kimberly eats a corn dog, which she says kinda tastes funny. That's because it went bad, and as a result, Kimberly needs to vomit into a toilet. So this being a modern retelling of the Power Rangers series, we get slightly more mature themes, but also modern emojis used for storytelling. The date was practically a disaster, but Matthew asks Kimberly out on a second date anyway. We then return to one day after Arrival Day and continue from the first issue with the Rangers battling Rita's forces on the moon as they try to rescue the Nasada astronauts. Rita wants the Rangers to surrender, but they obviously won't do that. So Rita tells them Zordon just uses the Power Rangers as tools to fight battles and then replaced. This could be a foreshadowing to the upcoming story of the original Power Rangers in the main comic book series, as there was apparently a team of Rangers in 1969. Anyway, more on that when that issue is actually released. Rita still wants the Rangers to surrender, but they are teleported out. The Rangers return to the command center whilst the astronauts are teleported directly to Nasada. This looks more like an alien ship to me than Nasada. It is a space program, but would it really look like something drawn here? For me, this just seemed wrong. Anyway, Jason tells Zordon that Rita knows the names of the Power Rangers, but doesn't know exactly who they are. So for now, their identities are kind of safe. The other Rangers ask if they can tell their families they are Power Rangers, but Zordon tells them the 3 rules of the Rangers were written before man walked the Earth, and breaking those rules would forfeit their powers. So that's a no, in other words. The Rangers then go outside of the command center to talk. Zack tells Jason the Rangers could back him up instead of him going on a kamikaze mission. And Kimberly talks to Billy about what Rita said about Zordon and the war. Billy doesn't believe in Rita, and Kimberly is not so sure she has to give up everything to save the world. What I like about this is the realism. If you were asked to save the world, you'd probably have a lot to consider, rather than just jump in and say, "Alright, I'm in," which is basically what happened in the TV show. We then move on to Trini at home with her mum. Living in a yellow house, that's appropriate. We learn here that Trini lived on a military base at one point. Her mum said she kicked a guy called Michael in the butt because he grabbed Trini's ponytail. She says it wasn't his butt, hinting at a more sensitive area, I'm guessing. So this makes the comic book version of Trini a bit more edgy than the original TV version. Also, this incident may explain why Trini has short hair here. Anyway, the point of this scene here is that Trini's mum doesn't like how Trini has made friends in Angel Grove and no longer talks to her as before because of the secret of being a Power Ranger. We then see the Rangers in school. Miss Appleby is taking a class and then Bulk and Skull waltz in after slamming the door open. Even though they're correctly the school bullies at this point, they weren't this bad in the TV show. Bulk even calls the teacher Supreme Teacher Nerd. I doubt he'd have gotten away with that in the original TV show. Jason eventually stands up and tells Bulk and Skull to sit down, as some of them do want to learn. So they do. After class, Trini sees Jason approaching and she says to herself, "Don't throw up." She then takes the initiative to start a conversation with him and asks if he wants to skip out on 6th period to help with a research project. 2 things here. Again, this Trini here is more edgy and is up for skipping class, and the person she likes is Jason. That was not in the TV show. We jump to a different couple with Kimberly approaching Matthew. Whilst Kimberly is all cheerful, Matthew isn't, because she bailed on him. Kimberly had to go to the moon to rescue the Nasada astronauts. Obviously, Matthew doesn't know that, so he's annoyed. Kimberly asks him if he hates her. He says no, but he does say he occasionally dislikes her, and leaves. So already they're on the rocks, and that could tie up with the events in the main series. Back to the moon, and Rita is coming up with her next plan of attack. So she gets Finster to create a new monster, and she stresses that this monster needs to be very, very special. Back to the Rangers. Jason and Trini are out in a rural area, and the reason Trini took Jason there is because she wants to learn more about their powers. What can they do? What can they not do? Do they have abilities they're not aware of, and what are their weaknesses? To test this, Trini asks Jason if they want to beat each other up, and so they morph. The morphers aren't drawn correctly, and they're holding them wrong, but it's a comic book. Things are bound to be drawn incorrectly with different artists working on this series. So Trini and Jason take this pretty seriously, with Trini seemingly punching Jason in the face. Both of them running at a fast pace, lifting huge chunks of earth, jumping off a cliff, and even fighting underwater. The Megazord fought underwater in the TV show, but the Rangers themselves never fought underwater. This page tries to answer some questions in more detail over the TV show regarding how the Rangers learned to fight and control the Zords. There were 2 throwaway lines on the show where the Rangers said it was amazing how they know how to pilot the Zords and that it was like second nature to them. Jason and Trini here talk about how they feel different when morphed in terms of combat skills, strength, intelligence, and of course the knowledge to pilot Zords. Jason thinks their powers may be downloading something into their brains, like preset instincts or a sixth sense. So this was good to get some better answers. Research over, Jason tells Trini he has no bruises. Mild flirting here as Trini tells him no bruise on his perfect abs. That seems to go right over Jason's head though, as he thinks they should keep this research up. Trini's up for it, but doesn't like lying to her mother. Jason tells Trini he doesn't have to lie because he stays out of his parents' lives, and they stay out of his. From what I gathered, the Rangers here are your typical teenagers in this series, with their family disputes and all. In the TV show, all the Rangers had good relationships with their parents, bar Kimberly because her parents split up. So again, this series is better in terms of realism. Over to the command center where Zack and Billy are. Billy is creating the wrist communicators, but the power source is proving a bit of an issue. He thought about miniaturizing the superconductors from the teleporter, but that would mean accessing the morphin grid. That's what he probably ended up doing in the TV show. So the reason Zack went looking for Billy is because Billy was so engrossed at the command center he missed an exam. He's allowed to retake it because Billy is in the running for an internship at Promethea, the big organization currently featured in the main comic book series. Miss Appleby tells Billy he only needs to worry about his grades at his age. Saving the world is someone else's responsibility. We rewind yet again, going 64 days before arrival day. Jason, Billy, Trini and Zack are with Matthew as he's going to introduce them to his new girlfriend. As this is a modern remake, Zack hopes that the new girl is a mix of Cleopatra, Helen of Troy and Megan Fox. So Matthew finally introduces the new girl, and it's Kimberly. The Rangers have already met before, and not under good terms. Trini refers to Kimberly as Salad Girl, and Matthew is surprised to hear that Kimberly is the Salad Girl. So something happened, but we don't know what. Kimberly admits to making a mistake, but Jason and Billy have no idea what's going on. After a heated moment, Kimberly leaves, and then we return to 2 days after arrival day, with Kimberly watching the high school football team from the stands. And then we're back on the moon, and Finster is crafting the new monster for Rita. Finster doesn't really like it, but Rita on the other hand does, because she thinks that this monster is a terrifying one, as it's one people will not see coming. Now, it looks half human and half putty. Perhaps this is the prototype to the human putties in the main Power Rangers comic. The issue ends here, and I'm looking forward to finding out what this whole Salad Girl incident is about. It'll also be interesting to see how Trini's crush on Jason pans out, because in the Pink miniseries, Trini ends up with Zack. Whilst I originally thought the Pink miniseries could tie in with the main comic series, and therefore Go-Go Power Rangers, I'm not so sure now. Maybe these are two different continuities. After all, the Pink miniseries was tying in more with the TV show's events and the Turbo movie.